Hey, hello, beautiful soul. I am back. I was just trying to record this and it wasn't working, so I'm back. And it seems like it is now running smooth. So I'm very excited about this. So I was saying in my previous video that I actually deleted because it was so unstable yeah, I was just really inspired this morning. I had my dance practice and I was like, oh my gosh, I need to talk about this. Like, I've written about this, I share in my emails about this, I talk about this with my clients, I talk about this with all my friends, but I haven't actually done a video on this. And I feel like it's so important to bring this out. And I also feel like it's something that has happened to me, that keeps happening to my clients, that, also happens to. I'm just sharing this on my other pages, by the way. That also, I happen to talk so many times about, and it's so like, once you know this information, you're just gonna be like, what? Really? I'm like, yes, what? Really? That's exactly how it's been for me, as well. And this is what I'm seeing so often. And also, I don't see many people talk about this in that. Specifically in this aspect, right? Like I see a lot of people talk about trauma release, about emotional release, about, how to bring more well-being into your body generally, how to tap into pleasure, into joy, how to reactivate your creativity. But I don't see people talk about what it's actually behind living a successful life and having things come up that have actually, that look like things are not working, right? I'm going to go more in depth into this. I'm just going to share this in my group as well, because I have a group here on Facebook. It's a women's only group, and the reason why I want to create this video is also because I know that there's men in my audience here on my private page that I feel will really benefit from this information. So yeah, hopefully it will really resonate with you. If you are watching me for the first time, please say hello, say hi, say where you're connecting from, share whatever you like, share your favorite emoji, whatever you feel like. And if, of course, you want to be a creepy neighbor just watching, feel free to stick around because I'm a creepy neighbor sometimes as well, and it's totally okay. So you're welcome either way. And of course, if you already know me, then welcome back. So okay, so this is like a really interesting topic in a sense, because when, like on our way to success and when we, start to magnetize things that are, that we've always wanted, some things can happen. And, one thing is, of course, you're going to be happy, you're going to celebrate, you're like, yeah, this is great, I've just done this, and you're actually really acknowledging the journey that it's taken you to get there, and you're on your path, and you know that this is working and this is great, right? And then there's the other aspect that also happens, which is sometimes we can only like find that little piece once we've walked a little journey ahead, right? So I'm kind of talking to you from that place of I've walked that little journey ahead, and I noticed that every time this was coming up, this actually didn't mean at all that something wasn't working. And so one of the big things that would come up for me were actually guilt feelings. So, as soon as I would record something for my programs, I would wake up the next day like drenched in guilt for no reason, right? I would feel like the world is coming crashing down on me. And it's like, and that aspect inside myself would go, oh, I have to fix this. I have to fix this. There's something wrong, right? It's like, all the alarm bells go off and your nervous system is trying to kick in to warn you that something's off, right? Like there's something wrong probably. So I started to like guilt trip myself about maybe I didn't do this video well enough, maybe I talked too much, maybe I didn't talk enough, maybe my clients are, not really engaged. And I started to feel really panicked around whatever it was that I had created. So, this is just one very small example, but obviously this, would pop up throughout the day in different forms, right? And another thing that was really happening to me were these like strange fears of death and strange fears of everything's going to end, and I'm not gonna be able to bring this to a close. If something is somewhat jinxed, right? Like something's wrong, and it's like I was trying to exacerbate on this and like, obsess about what I could do to fix this, right? Like I would then seek, counsel from different people and try to see whether, I could somehow, relate with this on another level with another person, like, just bounce my ideas off. And thankfully, I was also on the path of really understanding what it's like to live in that, feminine energy where things sometimes will come up to the surface, not because they don't, hi, Craig, nice to see you, not because they actually need healing, right? They're just coming up to the surface because that was the life that I've been living in for so many years, right? And so now that things were sort of smooth and I was making money and, people were signing up to my programs, like without asking questions, literally just, filling out the questionnaires, paying their invoices and no problems, right? It's like I was so used to having, like problematic situations pop up that when things were actually running smooth, my nervous system was still kicking in the guilt trip feelings, right? Was still kicking in that criticism, was still kicking into that, that wounded place of something's not working. I have to fix this because I've been trying to fix myself for years, right? And fix my emotions and fix all kinds of things around me, my life, and my relationships and everything, right? And so, obviously, thankfully I started to catch up on this, that this guilt had strictly nothing to do with the thing that I thought it had to do, right? With the program or with whatever I said or with whatever I did, right? It had absolutely nothing to do with that. It was just a residue of the past where my nervous system was, so much in survival mode, right? Trying to kick in all the different layers where I had to, just like try to heal something or try to get rid of this feeling, right? In a way. And of course, I was doing this with a very awakened and conscious intention, right? Of like really trying to go into the depths of my trauma and really trying to release all of that. And there's so much beauty in that, okay? And it's fine if you're processing this. I'm not trying to criticize this in any way. What I'm trying to say is that these things will come up, especially when you're hitting your next level of success. And I will explain why in a little bit. So I'll tell you a little story about a friend of mine who went through something really huge this week. She was experiencing, so like something triggered this whole situation. Like, she received some news from a person that was totally unexpected, like really like sidetracked her from the momentum that she was getting into, right? She was getting back into this momentum of meditating, of connecting with her sensuality, connecting with her dancing, connecting with her body. And so this news completely sidetracked her, right? And it was like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do about this? I don't know how to solve this. Like, and she was really like going into this overwhelming situation where all these feelings started to come up. And it's like, all that stuff was coming up. Like she had done a lot of inner child healing. And, I've also held a lot of space for her also through the emotional release layer. And I know that there's a lot of value in this. So I'm not dismissing at all. If you're working with a therapist, I think that this is beautiful, right? You definitely need to keep going. But what's happening is that when we have established a certain level of calm and success and things actually working out, we're sticking to our routine, we're doing the things that we've always wanted to do, right? And we're sticking to them, we're not collapsing, we're not leaning back and sabotaging anymore. These things might come up, right? And it's like, it's not a sign that something is still wrong with you and that you're still in that limbo and that things still haven't changed. It simply is, you have started to give a signal to your nervous system, right, that things are actually okay. But our nervous system is very often connected to that reptilian brain aspect where it's constantly running, on scan mode for problems so that it can solve the problem, right? And so please tell me if you relate with this. Like, hi, Magnus, nice to see you here. right? So it's like when things have been going smooth and suddenly something will pop out of the blue and you're like, oh, wait, no, oh my gosh, I still have to go do this inner child healing again. I need to go, heal this emotion again. I have to go back in time, right? So we have this tremendous fear of going back in time. And the truth is, you don't need to go back in time. This is just popping up because it's a little bit like when we're expanding, we're not just expanding on that, love and light, bubbly, everything's amazing. We also expand on the deeper layers where we're actually learning how to hold more and more energy, right? And so within that, holding the energy in the positive side, we also learning how to hold the energy on the negative polarity. And I don't mean negative as it being something bad. I mean negative as just a polarity, like when you're in the plus, you're in the minus, when you're in the light, you're in the darkness, right? It's like we're stretching our capacity on both levels, right? And so to me, this is like something that, hello, Sibylla, nice to see you. To me, this is something that is so important because those are the moments when we will go and desperately call a therapist and like, something's wrong, like this is coming up again, this inner child trauma is coming up again. And it's like, by actually stepping into that lane of, I have to go fix this, right? And I'm not saying that we shouldn't fix this, but it really is that things have been going right for a while and then this thing pops up. And so what's incredible is that, so you're going on that lane of, I have to fix this, I have to do something about this, right? So something very masculine, right? Because the masculine aspect within ourselves really wants to control and like tame the wilderness. It wants to have everything smooth. It literally wants everything peaceful so that it can get going, right? And it actually then believes that if things are not peaceful, that you can't keep going. You have to go fix this first before you can keep going, right? So see if you connect with this a little bit. And then, truth be told, what's amazing here is that once we actually give the body the tools that it needs, and the truth is we very often have these tools already. We've already learned these tools. We've already learned how to navigate through difficult circumstances. We've already done the emotional release. We've done all of that stuff. It's not like this is coming out of the blue and we don't know how to handle it. We've already figured out ways on how to handle it. And there's this aspect that this is not a sign of failure. It's actually a sign of your success, right? And so, so continuing on with this friend of mine who had been going on this trail journey of, reaccessing her meditation routine and really like getting in tune with her creative self, etc., etc. This was like a couple of days ago. Yesterday, so I kind of, supported her through this, but it's not like the support where I'm like, oh, poor thing, you need help. It's like, no, you got this, because I know I've been there, right? And it's like something in me was telling me there's nothing for her to fix here. Yes, there's something here for her to calm the nervous system for sure, right? Like really do the tools, work the tools. And, I even shared some of my favorite tools with her on how to really calm the nervous system and how to reactivate life. Because when we get into these situations where a trigger is popping up, what comes up is that our nervous system fires either the fight and flight response, but often it will also fire the freeze response. And that's like usually when we go into the wailing and the crying and the releasing of sadness, because we're actually in a freeze situation. So this trigger kind of pops up a freeze situation from the past, and then our body will go back into that, and it's like it can't come out of this without having this awareness that something is happening for the right reason and there's nothing wrong. It's just that your body is releasing something that it no longer needs, because you actually cannot go to your next level of success. You cannot rise up to that next part, of your reality where this is no longer an issue with this kind of frequency, right? So your nervous system is literally just like an animal that is coming, into that crucial moment when it's actually not dead and the predator has left. And there's this crucial moment where it can jump back on its feet and run and save itself. This is what's happening to our nervous system as well, right? So it's like what our nervous system is wanting to do is to shake off, right? Like animals actually, they will shake, they will kind of like jump up, start running, and then they'll start shaking, and then they go back to their normal life as if nothing ever happened, right? And what it does is that it actually allows the animal to, shake this off the nervous system so it can keep going with its natural flow of life. But what we do as humans is like, we just stay there, right? And then our mind kind of will reinforce that something is wrong, which then will tell the body to go together, right? Like, and go into that literal shock or freeze mode. And what we need to do here the most is actually to move and to give our body the signal that there's nothing wrong, right? And there's very specific tools on how to do this. I'm not going to go into this because otherwise this video is going to be too long. But there's very specific tools you can do and you can access in order to allow your body to shake off this nervousness out of the nervous system so that it can keep going. And that will then feed the brain with, oh, nothing's wrong. There's no predator in the room. There's nothing wrong. There's strictly nothing wrong. Everything is actually fine, right? So these trigger zones can be really difficult, right? Because when we've experienced certain levels of success and then we fall into that trigger zone, it feels like something's not working. It feels like, we have to go back. It feels like, we're getting stuck yet again, when actually we're not getting stuck yet again. It's just that our nervous system is trying to shake off something that it no longer can be on at that level where that's not an issue anymore. You see where I'm going? And so, truth be told, what happened to this beautiful friend is yesterday she sent me a video of her dancing, right? And it was just amazing because like she had not really recorded herself in ages. She had not really danced in it. She hadn't created things in ages, right? Because it's like her body already knew something new is on its way and I'm having to get ready for that, but I cannot go there unless I shake this off, right? And our mind will then go and exacerbate this. Oh my gosh, there's a trigger. I have to fix this. When actually our body knows what it needs to do, right? In order for us to expand onto that next level, right? And that's where, we're expanding on that light level, and the expansion on the negative pole in the darkness simply is we're able to hold that frequency, that, high vibrational frequency without dipping and staying in that freeze, flight, or fight response, right? And so, exactly, Magnus. Exactly. So Magnus is saying, TRE, traumatic release exercise, animals shake to get the adrenaline going, kind of like dance. Ding! So actually, dancers, and, actually any artist of movement, and when I'm saying artist, it doesn't mean that you have to be on on stage and you have to be a performer, or you have to be a show, or someone else needs to label you as artist for you to. No, a movement artist is somebody who just moves with their body, who works with their body, who is connected with the movement and the flow, right? And so what we can do, and this is very interesting, is like, I'm going to go on a little tangent here, but hopefully I'll come back very soon. But what's happening is when, as dancers, we actually have a very direct access to this healing aspect of this expansive nature, right? Like we can tap into huge amounts of joy and, just like this state of being of bliss and expansion and openness and like, oh my gosh, yes, universe, I'm here, like bring it down. And that same tool actually allows us to, shake this traumatic release off of our nervous system at the same time. So it can work in both ways, which is, one of the reasons why I created the Cosmic Dance program, because I'm really passionate about this. I really understand now that the moments when I danced were really the moments when my life started to go back into movement, right? And especially when we're in that conscious dance, right? Like we're aware of what is happening inside our bodies. We're aware of what's happening inside our mental body while we are moving, right? And we're seeing almost like that wailing of the past sort of come up, like these older stories, all the emotions, right? It's like when I came back to this, I had a break for 2 years from dance where I hardly danced. And every time I would come back to dance, I would cry and cry and cry. I was literally moving and crying. Like sometimes I wouldn't even move. Like I couldn't even get myself to move because there was so many things that my body needed to process, right? From the career that I've experienced as a dancer that was so full of hardship, even though I don't think that I've had one of the hardest careers as a dancer, but there was still so much trauma in my body about, the burden of dance and the burden of needing to move. And like, whenever I move, it has to be a certain way. It has to be, beautiful. It has to be, it has to catch people's attention. It has to bring all of that in, right? And it's like that was such a masculine forward way of moving, right? As when I just got back into, okay, how does my body actually want to move, and finding that my body was sick and tired of moving. Ooh, that was very deep, right? Because it's like it didn't want to move anymore. My body didn't want to move because it was just so constricted around the way that I had forced it to move over so many years that it's literally just tears streaming down my face because I couldn't figure out how to dance anymore. Like it just felt so far away. These dreams that I had of a dance felt so far away. So it took a lot of patience. And that's like when we tap into the feminine body, it takes time. Like it takes time for us to really go retrieve all these energies that got like trapped somewhere on our timeline. And we can also obviously like make them resurface again and make these emotions like fuel us, right? So now when I dance, I still have I still use dance as an emotional processing tool, but it is also very much a manifestation tool for me. Like this is how I bring in everything, right? And so there's very specific ways on how to go around this. And of course, I go more in depth in this in my program. But it's so important for us to really acknowledge the intelligence of the body. And it's almost like, a mental and spiritual body already know that this is totally a thing. Like we can totally allow a body to feel all the emotions that it needs to feel. We can totally allow the movement that needs to happen, right? And when we know the tools that will actually trigger our nervous system to calm down, right? Just like with my friend, like she held space, she was there, but it didn't mean she had to wail there. It didn't mean anything about all the work that she had done until now. It just meant that she was ready for the next level, and her body was just simply showing her what she was ready for, right? In a very backward sense way. So it would be very easy for her to go into this, into this scenario as something's not working. I'm going to have to do all this work yet again, right? And it's like, no, what it was is just that there's another layer coming. There's something new wanting to come through, and it needs to come through the body as well. And that's where true embodiment takes place. When we can see what our body is processing, and we can keep the vision open and focused on, okay, this is where we're going. This is what it's going to be. And we don't actually know what it's going to be, but definitely something big is happening, right? So now when people come to me and there's like, a huge turmoil or a huge emotional thing coming on, it's like all my alarm bells go, something is wanting to come through. Something new on that new level is wanting to come through, and they're now ready for it. And this is why this is showing up, right? It's actually a sign of success and not a sign of failure, right? And so it's a bit like when we are, inside a funnel, right? And this can work with many things. It can work with even money story, right? Like I'm just going to explain it as a money story. If you have like accumulated a lot of money, and then you're seeing it like all going away, like it's all draining, right? It's like all the bills need to be paid, all of that needs to be done, and it's like, oh my gosh, I don't know if I'm going to have enough money to pay my rent. I don't know if I have enough money to pay for my bills. What if, how am I going to manage this, right? You're just you're looking down into the funnel, and you're like, oh my gosh, it's running out, and you're panicking about this level going down. And it's the most counterintuitive thing to do because you're fixating and obsessing about how this money is running out, right? And what is the most lucid thing to do which is totally counterintuitive, because in that moment you're just obsessing so much about this thing that's happening, right? It's to basically lift your head and go, whoa, there's all of that coming, right? So it's like, it's the perspective change. And if we keep, our perspective on this funnel, looking down and seeing all the things that are running out, right? Like, that's when we start to panic. That's when we start to see, oh my gosh, I've done all this thing, and look, it's running out again, right? Like look, it's disappearing again. Like, look, it's literally just falling off of my hands, when actually there's so much else coming to you, right? And it's like that trust that you have in that moment of going, I'm not going to look down, I'm going to look up. The sky is no limit, right? It's like you're looking up and you're seeing all the things that are wanting to come through, right? That are really wanting to come into your experience now, right? And that's when we really start to feel that shift of, this is the success that I'm having, this is the success that I'm building, and oh my gosh, there's so much more success coming, right? And that is fueling that deep embodied sense of, I'm on track. This is happening for me. I am, on my way to a greater, higher version of myself, right? I'm actually manifesting the things that I've always wanted to manifest. And this is when we can, tune back into gratitude, and we can tune back into love and into bliss and into joy, right? So I'm just giving you a very quick shortcut on how to do this. Obviously, there's so much behind the scenes, and there's so much behind the scenes in terms of the true embodiment of really bringing that feminine and masculine energy into balance, and how to polarize with the universe with that masculine energy, right? Like, it's like so difficult for me not to see this now. Like, for me, the universe is just the masculine energy, and I'm the emitting frequency of the feminine. And so the more I can stay in that calm, composed state, right, all the while I'm totally okay with my darkness, because the feminine is actually inherently dark. It's not, light and bubbles and love. It's actually darkness, because the feminine is very much in tune with the mysticism, with things that are not known, with that which is wanting to come through, but we don't know yet, right? It's like this pregnant woman, this baby is inside of her womb, which is dark, right? Like, she's that pregnant woman. She doesn't know when the baby is coming, because she doesn't even need to know. Like, the baby's going to come when it's ready, right? And so she's very much in tune with that mysticism, and she's just enjoying her life. Meanwhile, all this success is happening, right? Because nature is actually done in a way where it's always organically tied and woven in. There's nothing that's not natural on the planet. Everything serves its purpose. And if you really watch nature and you observe nature, you'll see that all these cycles, they're all intertwined into one another, and they make this perfect harmony, right? And so that perfect harmony, it's already resonant inside your body now. It's not something that you have to go get. It's not something that there's nothing that you need to fix before you can access. It's actually accessible to you now, right? And so really having that education and understanding when things are happening, when our ego monkey mind is just like trying to label it yet again, right? It's actually, there's a natural process to your own success. And it's so, so important for us to tune into this. Okay, so I hope this was helpful. Thank you so much for tuning in, Magnus, Sibylle, and Craig, and for everybody else who's going to be watching. And of course, feel free to leave any questions below, or if there was something that was like, oh my gosh, Lizzie, I love this, please feel free to share. You can message me as well. Absolutely love to continue this conversation with you, and just to really see you thrive on your journey. You really deserve that success, and it's totally okay for you to feel all the feels all the while you're still walking towards your success. Okay, sending you so much love, beautiful soul. Mwah! Love you, and see you soon. Bye.